Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Fleur and I'm really glad that you're here. On this channel I mostly make music, talk about books and about mental health, so if you're interested in all that, please subscribe and come hang out. I would love to have you here. Today's video is very exciting, that's why I'm smiling. We're going to talk about my fall, autumn, however you call it, TBR, and I'm gonna give you book recommendations for you for this coming fall. My favorite season is spring because it's just where I feel the happiest, but I do love the fall as well. I love the coziness, I like the terracotta colors, I like a lot of things about it, but it is a time where my mental health often starts to decline a little bit when it gets colder and darker and it's rainy and dreary. And I find that reading really helps to, I don't know, give into the coziness, I guess, and take a little bit of time for myself. I even burned some candles for the vibes now, so I would say grab a cup of tea or coffee or whatever drink you prefer and let's get into the books. I'm going to start with the recommendations and then I'll talk about my TBR later. Definitely let me know in the comments what's on your TBR and what you would recommend to me, because I think that I'll be continuing this list onto winter, so yeah, there's room for more books, I think. I'll never know if I'll get through a TBR or not because I definitely pick a book based on how I feel in the moment, so I'm saying all these things now and I'll probably like ditch half of them. I don't know, we're gonna see. For recommendations though, I only started reading again last year in the summer, so I don't have that much of a list for you, but I do have some books that I think you're really gonna like and that fit the vibe. And the first one I'm gonna start with is Cersei by Madeline Miller. I wouldn't say that the story is very autumnal, but it's witchy, and I think that witchy subjects and like mythology really fit the vibe of the fall, so that's why I chose this one. Also the colors, I mean, it's perfect. So this follows Cersei, and she is a witch, and she's the daughter of Helios. She has the gift of witchcraft, right? And with her gift, she threatens the gods, so she gets banished to an island, Ayaya, I think it's Ayaya, I don't know. But that's where she learns her craft, and she's just such a strong female protagonist, and her story is beautiful, and the writing, Madeline Miller is such a wonderful author. Her prose is gorgeous, and I think you're really gonna like this book. I mean, I don't know you personally, but if you like stories about strong women and you like a little bit of mythology and you like a little bit of witchcraft and women who can turn men into pigs, this one's for you. This next one I've already talked about on this channel, and I'm planning to reread it myself, so it's also on my TBR, but it is Just Kids by Patti Smith. And Patti Smith is known as the mother of rock and roll, and she wrote a memoir surrounding her and her relationship to her partner Robert. From the moment she leaves to go to New York and they meet to the moment that he passes away and life after that. It's so beautifully written. It's amazing. I think about this book all the time still, that's why I want to pick it up. It begins as a love story and ends as an elegy. It serves a salute to New York City during the late 60s and 70s and to its rich and poor, its hustlers and hellions. A true fable. It is a portrait of two young artists' ascent, a prelude to fame. And I think that it's just the vibe that I'm getting is autumn, but I wouldn't necessarily say that the story is very autumnal. It's set over years and years and years. It goes through everything, but I love Patti's passion just dripping off the pages, and I think that that's a beautiful book to snuggle up with in the fall time. The next one I find very autumnal, and maybe you haven't heard of it before, maybe you have. Lolly Willows by Sylvia Townsend Warner. It's a very thin book, but it's not a fast read, I would say. It's a very slow-paced story about Lolly Willows, who lives in England, and I'm going to read the back to you. Lolly Willows, so gentle and accommodating, has depths no one expects. When she suddenly announces that she's leaving London and moving alone to the depths of the countryside, her overbearing relatives are horrified. But Lolly has a greater, far darker calling than family: witchcraft. And then there are some quotes on here, but it's eerie, it's tender, it's slow, it's very autumnal, and I think that it's very ahead of its time. This was written in, let me check. This book is written in 1926, and to read about a woman leaving her family to live on her own in the woods, do her witchcraft, is very inspiring. I'm not going to say that this is my favorite book, or that I enjoyed it so much, but I do think that it fits the vibe so well. It's super interesting to read about. I read it at a time where my head wasn't really in it, so I feel like I missed a lot of things, but I think that Sylvia Townsend Warner is a really good author, and I would definitely recommend giving it a try. Then the next book that I for some reason feel like fits the fall vibes is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. If you don't know, this is an absolute classic. This is actually a Sisterhood Women's Day special edition that I'm slowly collecting. There are a few books that have these covers and I think they're gorgeous. Show you up close. I'll read the back to you. Orphan Jane Eyre endures an unhappy childhood, hated by her family and driven away to the comfortless Lowood School. Through gumption and determination, Jane stays on as a teacher but dreams of a life filled with love and friendship. At Mr. Rochester's house, where she goes to work as a governess, she hopes she might have found her dream, until she learns the very terrible secret of the attic. So this is a story about Jane Eyre, and Jane is an orphan child and she's taken in by family, and then she gets sent to a school that is, like said on the back, very loveless, and she has a very tough time there. And for some reason I just feel like I'm just recommending you books about strong, independent women, I'm noticing, but I feel like this is just very autumnal for some reason. I think it might be that it's a classic or it's in an older style that I think that it fits the theme so well. And also that little aspect of academia in there really feels autumnal to me. And I think that this is also a really cozy book to read in bed under a blanket with some candles burning. And I guarantee you'll fall in love with Jane and her mind and Charlotte Bronte's writing. Now for my own fall TBR, I think that this is going to be the list where the books are actually very autumnal, I think. But anyway, the first book that I'm going to pick up this fall and that I already started is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. And I think that if you are into reading already, you've heard about this book 1,000,001 times, but I'll still read the back. Under the influence of their charismatic classics professor, a group of clever, eccentric misfits at an elite New England college discover a way of thinking and living that is a world away from the humdrum existence of their contemporaries. But when they go beyond the boundaries of normal morality, their lives are changed profoundly and forever. So this story follows a group of students who go to a boarding school or some exclusive school, and they form this little club, and their teacher is very influential to them, and then things are going to start getting weird. That's all I know about it, because I try not to know too much going into books most of the time, and I'm only on page 61, so I can't really say much about it yet, but I'm super intrigued. I think that the writing is beautiful. Everyone has been recommending it to me. One of my friends is like, I reread this so often and I love it, and like she swears by this book, so I'm really excited to get into it more and finally know what the hype is all about, you know? So that's top of my list. Second is one that I didn't think I would ever pick up, but it is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, and it's a classic. It's I picked this up at a thrift store. The pages are very discolored. I think that'll add to the vibe because this is a very eerie, scary story. This is Manderley, notorious, ridden by evil. Its mistress, Rebecca de Winter, has been dead for 8 months, drowned in a sailing accident. She was glamorous and adored, but through the frightened eyes of Rebecca's successor at Manderley, Max de Winter's shy young second wife, we come to know Rebecca as she really was. We understand with horror the power she holds over Manderley even in death, and watch her satanic curse paralyze Max de Winter's love for his new wife. Then suddenly a dramatic and bold revelation shatters Rebecca's spell. It's kind of like a horror story, but people say that it's more of a thriller vibe and not super scary, but I don't know. I get scared easily, so we'll have to see how this goes. But I think that this is going to be a good and autumnal read. It's also how it got recommended to me. And then when I saw it at the thrift store for 50 cents, I was like, you know what? I should just pick it up and give it a go. I'll let you know when I finish it. I'll probably let you know on my ASMR channel, but a review will be coming. The next book that I want to pick up is Withering Heights by Emily Bronte, which is actually Charlotte Bronte's sister, which is really cool. And I haven't read a book by her yet, and it's said to be very, very fitting for the season. Withering Heights begins as a man is forced to shelter a strange grim house on the Yorkshire moors during a snowstorm. There he discovers the tempestuous events that took place the years before, the intense love between Catherine Earnshaw and the foundling Heathcliff, her betrayal on him, and how his terrible revenge continues to haunt the present. So it's supposed to be very eerie, and I don't know what's gotten into me, but I think that I'm gonna read some very grim and sad stories, but I just can't wait. I think I've read so much romance over the summer that I'm kind of sick of it, but we'll see how far along into this I'll get. The next ones I don't have physical copies of, or I don't have copies of yet, but they are definitely on my radar. I'm currently still listening to Ariadne on Audible, and I'll finish that one during the fall as well, so I added it to my TBR. I want to read The Last Witch of Scotland. I think that the cover itself is gorgeous, and I don't know much about it, but it got recommended to me so much that I'm trusting the people, and I added it to my list in hopes that it'll be good. Then I also want to read The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I've heard that this was a very cozy Gilmore Girls vibes romance book, and I think that after the books that I'm currently having on my list, I'll want something lighter in between, so I'll probably download it on my Kindle. I'm very curious to see how it's gonna go. I don't have too much expectations other than just cozy vibes and romance and sweetness and chai scents, you know? That's what I'm hoping. And then yesterday I added this to my TBR, and it's A Million Junes by Emily Henry. Now, I've looked up Emily Henry's books multiple times on Google, and the only things that come up are her romance books, which I love. I love Emily Henry so much. But A Million Junes is a magical realism novel, and I didn't know she wrote those things, and I can't wait to read about it because I love her so much as an author in her romance that I'm really curious to see how I'm going to like her writing in a different genre. So I don't know, I hope I'll get to it, but I read the back yesterday and it sounded really interesting. I don't remember it now, and I don't think I'll reread the synopsis because, like I said, I want to go into it a little bit blindly. So yeah, that's what's on my TBR for this season. I think that some of them I'll carry with me to winter maybe, and I'll add some books and change some books depending on what mood I'm in and what recommendations I get, of course, along the way. But I'm really excited about this list. Let me know which books of these you've read, or which ones you would recommend to me to read sooner or later, or not read at all. I'm really curious to hear. Yeah, let me know if you read any of the books that I recommended to you, because I would love to talk about them. Okay, this video was kind of all over the place, but I hope you still enjoyed, and I'm wishing you a very happy autumn. I hope that season will treat you well, and I'll gladly see you in my next video. Bye!